it's not being recorded. Yeah, it's fine. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the channel. And apologize, we've been quasi absent. Faith's been faithfully posting to her channel, but we've been having massive internet issues, and we keep trying to resolve them. And we bought new antennas and all that stuff, and I think we've got it resolved. So it's definitely a trial and a testing of your psyche and conscience and patience when your internet is completely great and then terrible all within 5 minutes, and it does that cycle over and over and over again. But what I wanted to, Faith and Matt have been talking a lot about Carnivore, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to, as concise as I can, try to give my whole health story, my background, and kind of where I came from and where I'm at now. And I wanted to get it all kind of in one video for a reference point. The neat thing about dialoguing and documenting things is these different videos give you reference points that you can point to, and it also is reference points that you can share with others and give them some hope and some light at the end of the tunnel. So a little bit about my story when it comes to health and all that stuff. I was raised very holistically. My dad worked in a cannery, and he developed heavy metal poisoning. I was at a very young age, and he had all different kinds of heavy metal poisoning. So, what's up? So he had like 6 different kinds. He had mercury, every kind of heavy metal poison. So my mom found a chiropractor. They started chelation therapy, and that's what kind of put my mom on like a nutritional journey. And from like 5 years old, I started getting chiropractic, and we ate like super crunchy grape nuts from the health food store when there was literally only one health food store, and it was there forever. And it was definitely kind of like this hippie thing to eat healthy. And we were the freaky family that didn't eat all the processed cereals and all that stuff. Now, fast forward, here's what's interesting. Fast forward into my 20s, and both of my parents totally fell off the wagon and just straight up went, relatively speaking, the standard American diet. Now, my mom always cooked all of their food, but they did eat out a lot, and they completely abandoned a holistic approach to eating, which was kind of interesting. Now, I, on the other hand, through high school, I was an incredibly hard gainer. I was a super scrawny little kid. I graduated high school at 135 pounds. So what that did is I found weightlifting, bodybuilding, and heavy weight training, and that became like my addiction. I became a gym rat, and I lived in the gym. And I went to the community college next to the gym, and I worked a part-time job at a law firm because I was a gym rat. Like, I was your prototypical gym rat, but I was slightly smarter than a barbell, which is not quite always the case for a gym rat. So I did have some street smarts. I won't say like I'm in the Mensa Club or had some incredible IQ or anything. I did have street intelligence. So I really enjoyed exercise and nutrition, studied a lot, read a lot of books, read a lot of magazines. And for any of y'all that remember Atkins, read Atkins, did Atkins, and as I was reading through all that, that dispelled the majority of the myths when it comes to nutrition. The predominance, like 80 to 90% of what we hear about nutrition is scientism. It's idiotic. It's caloric intake, caloric restriction, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. All these things are platitudes and talking points that aren't based in reality. They're anti-science. And this kind of all fits hand in glove into this whole carnivore thing. So, I went to college, and I'm in biology class, and I had this weird effeminate dude teaching our biology class, and he's showing some propaganda film up on the big screen. We're in the auditorium, and we're talking about calories. And I still remember this plain as day, right? And so they're showing these people running around this track, right? They got people running long distance around this track. And then there is a charcoal, just this cheap charcoal briquette barbecue, the little round thing with the dome on the top. And it's explaining like, if you burn 2,000 calories a day, and it's talking about this whole calorie deficit concept, and there are jelly-filled, sugar-coated donuts on this charcoal briquette, right? And they light this thing up, and these donuts start to burn, and they're like, this is just how you burn calories and blah, blah, blah. And if you blah, 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 right? And so you have these high fructose corn syrup, refined sugar-coated, jelly-filled sacks of death, right, on this charcoal briquette. And so we end the video, you know, and then we would always have this discussion time where we could kind of talk about things and debate things. And I'm like, well, you know, and I was a big meathead. I was in very good shape for me. I was relatively strong. I was really big on strength training and functional training. I wasn't like a meathead for the sake of wanting to flex and like staring in the mirror at myself. I wanted to be functionally strong. I wanted to be able to lift very heavy, awkward objects, kind of much more strong man, without the terrible diet and the ultra super thick, you know, what they do and all that stuff. And without steroids. I never took any steroids in my life. And I worked out with a lot of guys that did take steroids. I'm very familiar with steroids. I understand how steroids works, and it's what's annoying about guys like Liver King that have completely bastardized this concept of a meat-based diet and simultaneously cycling $20,000 a month of various types of steroids. Yeah, the guy's a total con. But yeah, and he stopped, so he's clean now, I'm sure. But you know, and I looked at the guy, I'm like, guy's like juicing out of his mind. You know, you can tell by looking at him. And so this burning jelly donut, and there's a fly on my mic. It's going to drive me crazy. Burning jelly donuts, and we're in biology class with my professor. And I said, well, hello, professor. I said, professor, you know that that's not how metabolism works. Like the jelly, when you consume a jelly donut, it's not being roasted over an open fire inside your mitochondria, right? And so we had this discussion. I'm like, just even the analogy and the typology and everything that's being used to discuss this entire topic is completely detached and devoid of reality. And it's not even, I mean, this is a foolish notion, right? Because the concept is, you know, this calorie concept, when anytime I hear anybody talk about calories, I get, you know, I start to twitch, because it's all based on scientism, and we know we need to trust the science, and we know that things are safe and effective, and we know what scientists, you know, have said recently in the last couple years about, you know, the truth about science and all that stuff. And I want you to be able to see my T-shirt, y'all, just in case you need a reminder. So we had this discussion, and it was quite the debate in class, and it was very interesting. And of course, my professor profusely disagreed with me. But anyway, so that was all part of my histrionics with health. I continued to read and study, continued to train. I got really big into Russian kettlebells, and I really liked all of that. And then fast forward, we get married. I start teaching my wife about nutrition and about different medical procedures for your children, your newly born children, right? And so Faith was very concerned about medical procedures for newborn children, that if you use the medical industrial complex and you birth children in a medical industrial complex facility in certain states and regions, like they require these different things. And if you don't use these medical procedures, then you have to sign waivers and all these different things. So we did a lot of education on that. We talked to doctors, we looked at case studies, and we decided, look, we're not going to do any of these medical procedures on our children when they're born or after they're born or as they mature, because God created humans with an immune system that works efficiently and effectively if you don't abuse it, if you don't genetically mutate yourself or have birth defects and abnormalities and all these different things. So we decided to not do that. And as we continued down that path, through study, we decided that whole foods and less processed and homemade food was the way that human beings are supposed to eat, designed to eat, historically have eaten, right? And so we've continued to go in that vein. My wife developed what appeared to be very severe tumors on her thyroid. She was told by 2 doctors that she had cancerous tumor on her thyroid. We went to MD Anderson. She employed Gerson Therapy. We prayed and fasted. And through all of that, by the time we got to MD Anderson, they did a biopsy that came back non-tumorous. All the absolute best experts in the world said there's nothing you can do about that fibrous goiter on your thyroid. We can cut it out if you want, if you don't like the look of it. We continued to eat cleaner and cleaner and implemented Gerson therapy, juicing, green juices, and the goiter completely disappeared. It's totally, relatively gone. It's not visible to the naked eye. Even though all the scientism and all the doctors said, that's an impossibility, they need to cut it out and all that good stuff. So that's getting us closer here up to date. Read the book, The China Study, and I read an inordinate amount of Seventh-day Adventist Kellogg propaganda about veganism. And, what really started making me anti-veganism was all this Ellen G. White, Seventh-day Adventist, medical, pharmaceutical processed propaganda from all these Seventh-day Adventist doctors and guys like Kellogg and the cereal company, right? And hey, if we make all this pea protein plant-based, processing whatever, that's what, and red meat's going to kill you and all this cholesterol stuff. And I'm like, this is all just fake and this is lies and this is revisionist history and this is like objectively false just from history. Besides all the people groups, and just besides from like anecdotal, like they have a series called Alone, and we're real into survival and all this kind of cool stuff and being able to subsist and survive and prep. So, if you watch these, this show Alone, they're all by themselves in the wilderness, and it's whoever can literally live without being medically tapped out for as long as humanly possible. And they've had like 8 or 9 seasons now, and every time it comes back to meat. Who ate the most meat, who had the most fat, wins, survives, lives. And that is as anecdotal and experiential. And we're talking about 9 years of 9 seasons with however many, I think it's like 10. So we're talking about 90 people. And every time, it is the exact same thing every time, every year. And that just anecdotally on the face, prima facie data it's glaringly and blaringly obvious. So I submit that to you as layman anecdotal numero uno. Secondarily, the whole cholesterol thing, right? Which, and we were taught all that in college about, your good cholesterol and your bad cholesterol. I had a similar debate with my professor, and I said, look, cholesterol is a system, right? So you have, I always get it mixed up, but your LDL, because that's supposedly the bad one, that takes cholesterol into your cell. Your HDL takes cholesterol, is the cholesterol coming out of your cell. So in the scientism, postmodern thought world, the cholesterol that comes out of your cell is good. The cholesterol that goes into your cell is bad. And as you can see, that is, and I realize I'm explaining this on a very generic level that I understand it because I'm not smart. Okay. So, I'm just trying to break it down for you the way that, the way that I see it. And I said, look, this is completely false. This is a system. You take out one leg, you take, if it's a system and LDL takes you halfway around and HDL takes you the other halfway around, you remove half of that, you have a broken system. So obviously, neither HDL or LDL is bad. What's bad is seed oils and all these processed seed oils that have only existed in humanity for roughly 100 years, and they come from these big processing plants, just like all this supposed quasi plant-based, what I tell people, and we're going to come out with a t-shirt, right? And it's going to have this big factory with smokestacks and everything. And that's going to be the plant, and it's going to say plant-based, because all the plant-based food that they're talking about are coming from bioreactors. I might share a Twitter video with you from CNN at the end here about this lab-grown chicken that they're growing in bioreactors. It's very exciting. I can't wait. I definitely trust the science. I certainly trust CNN. It's going to be great. It's going to be magnificent. It's going to be terrific. All the greatest minds are working on the lab-grown chicken. And like regular chicken isn't just barely palatable enough. I'm a red meat guy. I'll eat chicken every blue moon or whatever. But there's a reason kind of why you got to deep fry it. Just not, red meat's so much better. This is my opinion. So I love eggs, though. I love sunny side up eggs, and I'll put them on anything. I'll put them on my hamburger. But okay, so now fast forward, college, we're eating whole foods. We're doing different veg and stuff. I'm reading all this Uber vegan propaganda. I'm watching these like mentally retarded vegan documentaries about how all these supposed athletes are like breaking all these records on the vegan diet, right? And then you have this weird counterculture on social media with all these psychotic, like mentally ill vegans, and it's like this vegan war, right? And it's like they're like flat earthers that eat salad or something. And sorry if I offended any flat earthers, I apologize. But I am geocentric in my position. I am a geocentrist, so I don't believe the world is spinning, and maybe that makes me crazy too. But I do believe that the Earth is the center of God's creation, and the Earth doesn't spin. And even heliocentric guys will say, that's true. But anyway, we can talk about that on another stream, maybe, or something. It's very interesting stuff. So now, fast forward. So about 7 years ago, I started having severe back problems. I've always been to a chiropractor. And now come to find out where I've always had these back problems. I've had a lot of back problems, and I've had it come and go. And I've weight trained with professionals, and I've had every type of chiropractic: Gonstead, non-direct force techniques, advanced orthogonal technique, every practice of chiropractic I have been administered, So I'm very familiar with chiropractic. I absolutely believe in chiropractic. Chiropractic's great. But as I continued to have this back issue, what I thought was a back issue and a neck issue, all that was stemming from my shoulder. And what in reality was occurring once the MRIs were done is I had encapsulative arthritis in my left shoulder. And I was born premature. I could have had this condition from birth, you know. So the head of my left shoulder is 40% smaller than it should be, right? And so what's happened? So that caused a 30% loss of my labrum. So I'm missing 30% of my labrum. And I went to 4 sports doctors, surgeons, and they all said, you know, don't know why, don't know what, but you need a shoulder replacement. And so I said, man, I just really don't want to do that. And I've talked to guys that have had shoulder replacements, and they've said all kind of cool stuff like, oh, it's great, you'll be fine, you'll be able to lift and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I just really don't think it's that cool. You know, I watched the procedure, how they hack the top of your shoulder off and stuff a stainless steel ball in there and wrap a bunch of vinyl bands around it and screw it and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not really cool with that. It's going to go bad in 10 years and all this stuff. And I'm absolutely going to be active, and I'm going to absolutely beat the junk out of it. If I'm going to go through all that, I'm absolutely going to work it, you know. And so I said, you know what, I don't want to do that. I talked to my sports doc again, the one that I trusted the most, younger guy, and he was like, look, man, I can go in there and clean it up. He's like, I can go in there and clean it up. I might be able to buy you 10 years. If we could buy you some time, you know, I think I can clean this up. I keep looking at the x-rays. So he goes in there. 4.5 hours later, he comes back out. And he's like, just so you know, that's the absolute worst shoulder I've ever seen. What I did is he did a bicep tendinosis. So they cut the bicipital tendon going to the shoulder. They attach it down here somewhere. So he disconnected and reconnected my bicipital tendon. So that's down here. It's still a little numb there. And then he was like, you know, they did the roto-rooter all around the joint, opened it up, took out the scar tissue, took the pressure off the nerves and everything. I was getting a lot of pain, right? All the stuff with my neck and back went away. All the pain went away. And now I'm stuck with, yeah, but my range of motion and all this stuff. And the joint, you know, it's so small, it feels like it's kind of falling out. It's pretty gross, really gross, incredibly gross feeling, y'all. I'm not trying to gross you out, but it was rough, you know. And I'm just like, what do I do now? I went through this. I spent all this money. I'm all jammed up for however many weeks, I forget. I had that done in August. So one of my chiros is like, hey, had a client. He did this stem cell thing on his knee. It completely fixed his knee. And I was like, wow. So I go back to my orthopedic surgeon, and he's like, oh, yeah, we do stem cell and PRP. And he hands me some Pfizer brochure of some pharmacia thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing this, dude. This is some like Pfizer labeled quasi supposed stem cell. So I'm like, well, this other specialist is in Dallas. I despise driving into any metropolitan area. And I'm like, dude, I'm doing it. I'm going to Babylon. I'm going to Babylon. I'm going to go to Dallas. And I'll just talk to him. He's like, yeah, man, come in. We'll do a free consult. And Donnie Buford is just an incredible human being. You know, before we talked about everything, he prayed with us. This guy, and when it comes to stem cell, he's super cutting edge. He's been doing it. He's part of the studies, and he tracks and monitors and all that stuff. And he broke it down on stem cell. He's like, look, anything that's not live active stem cells that aren't yours is totally bogus. They're dead. If they've been frozen, they're dead. If they're in some kind of pharmacia slurry, they're dead. They don't work. It's proven they don't work. The only stem cells that are going to work for you are yours. We're going to extract 90 cc's of your bone marrow out of your hip. Fun times. It was a great experience. It wasn't that bad, except when they extract it. It feels like they're sucking the life out of you. Best way I can explain it. And, but relatively speaking, you're awake and everything. And then they take your bone marrow, they spin it, they suck your stem cells off the top. And then they strategically, with an ultrasound, he gave me 2 injections into my shoulder. And he said, look, this is what this is going to do. This is going to freeze your damage where you're at. It's going to freeze everything in time. So whatever you got, missing labrum, he's like, this isn't going to grow your labrum back. And I was like, bummer, you know. And he's like, but we can freeze the damage. We can freeze the damage in time, and we can preserve that shoulder where it's at. And your range of motion is probably going to be what it is, you know. And, you know, you had the bicipital tendinosis and all this stuff. I'm like, okay. So he does that. And then, and he's like, he said, look, here's how it works. It's going to take 3 to 4 weeks for the shots to kick in. And then you're going to see continuous improvement for about 3 months, right? And then that improvement is going to plateau, and you're going to stay there hopefully for 3 to 5 years. And at the end of that 3 to 5 year cycle, it's going to start not feeling good again, and we can come back in and do another stem cell treatment. He said, now, if you don't follow that cycle, maybe we'll have to come back in a couple months and do some PRP or whatever. So, but he said, look, if you need additional PRP, it's included, right? So I paid out of pocket, I paid $5,000, something like that. I went there, consult, did the treatment, and left $5,000. Where with Samaritan Ministries, they reimbursed that. So I was completely reimbursed through medical sharing for that. They cover that, y'all. The HMO, the Homo Globo Healthcare Industrial Complex does not pay for that, you know. So I had the stem cell. I started feeling better, and I started feeling better, and I started feeling better. And then I did a video about my stem cell thing, right? And interestingly enough, I was talking about how I had this steady progress. Shortly after making that video, I was like, you know, my shoulder's not feeling bad, but it's not continuing to progress. I think I hit that plateau mark. Well, as divine providence would have it, this was simultaneously as my wife Faith was coming around to this protein-based diet. Even when we were much more whole foods and plant-based, I continued to eat high levels of protein, but I was eating a lot of these other whole foods. And to be really honest with you, even a lot of these quote unquote, air quotes, health foods are very processed. And what's interesting about even in meat-based products, even if they're processed like epic Wagyu jerky sticks and everything, they're still exponentially better for you. Now, I want to create a visual illustration for you. So the health food store that I absolutely love, I love these people. It's the Granary. They're kind of regionally local here. They have about 6 stores. And huge shout out to Granary, the Granary. They're in Longview, Tyler, Grand Saline. They got like 6 stores, right? Awesome people, awesome owners, great products, great pricing. A lot of times I can buy stuff there cheaper than I could get it on like discount sites like Vitacost and everything. So, and I love it because they're local, and I can patronize there, and I know these people, and they're salt of the earth, awesome people. And like when I come to buy stuff, we talk like what some people would consider tinfoil hat stuff, and and a lot of them watch the channel. It's really cool. So after we kind of switched over, and I said, normally, okay, so I'll give you my current eating scheme and schedule. And here's the great thing. Like, we're not carnivore. We're not carnivore purists, right? I'm more like a Paul Saladino kind of. I still eat honey every day. And I know that, oh, yeah, you can't do that because you're carnivore. But, I drink Texas Boys coffee every day, shameless plug, with our honey in it. And that's probably the only thing I really do to breach the protocol or whatever. But, it's art and science, and it's what works for you. There isn't now. If you need to be extreme, be absolutely extreme. You know, and if your health demands and deems that, and maybe, and look, y'all, I'll be honest, maybe if I want super puritanical, ultra carnivore, and it with excluding everything else, maybe I would even have better success and progress with my shoulder. That's a possibility. I'm not going to say that that's not a possibility. But so I hit kind of like a plateau point about 40 some days ago. Simultaneously, we were switching up our diet. And so I start out the morning, I get up 4 or 5 o'clock, and I get my coffee. I put usually 4 to 5. I always gauge it by the previous day. I'll put 4 to 5 raw eggs in my coffee. I'll put a spoon of honey in there. And what's amazing is when you put raw eggs in coffee and use an immersion blender, it's just like having heavy cream in it. It's absolutely incredible. As long as you use the immersion blender, and you are welcome. I just solved the riddle of the Sphinx for you, and when you try this, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, that is totally awesome." Because people are like, "Ew, gross, raw eggs." Well, I only eat my eggs, so we raise them, we take them out of the hen house, and we know where they've been and what they're all about. I would not do that with a store-bought egg. I wouldn't even do that with an organic store-bought egg. I'm just not doing it. But so I'll eat 4 or 5 raw eggs in my coffee, and that's usually equates to whatever a quart jar is. So what, 32 ounces, whatever. I drink that in the morning. Since going carnivore, I've reduced my vitamin intake. I've been listening to a lot of these things about phthalates and oxalates and all these things. So I've stopped. I don't take any. I used to take 3 grams of vitamin C every day. I don't do that anymore. And then I eat a predominant, like today, I ate like 3 or 4 pounds of brisket. And I didn't have any bacon today. I usually almost have bacon every day. But now here's the thing with pork and beef. I love the bacon for the fat and the brisket for the fat. The rest of the pork, I could super leave it. I don't have any real interest in pork. But I'm after the fats, so that's where that bacon part comes in. And what's awesome now is we've been exclusively eating our bacon from our last very large hog. We have an enormous amount of bacon. Also, we're doing a September. We're selling for August for a September cut for beef and pork. So if you want to go to TexasBoys.com and reserve it now, I think we have 2 and 2 left. We just had somebody purchase a whole cow and a whole pig, and somebody purchased a half. So I don't know exactly where we are, but if you want some for September, you definitely have to reserve it now. Last time we sold out. So, and we appreciate your patronage, y'all. And we're really pumped and excited about offering y'all a healthy source for your meat. Everything's grass-fed, grass-finished, and it is absolutely delicious. And this is all that we eat, y'all. Okay, so back to my visual illustration. Went down a little rabbit trail. Going to the granary. I had a really long day. I had 2 or 3 more appointments. It was like 2 o'clock. I said, man, I know I'm going to get home. I like to eat like around 5 or 6. And I'm like, I'm going to get home right up against that time. And I'm going to be hangry, and, I don't want to be the guy that said, we eat at 6, woman. I know that's going to make all the new agers shriek when they hear stuff like that, but it's partly in jest. I don't know which part, but I'll think about that. So I said, let me run in. I'm right here by the granary. Let me run in, right? And let me see what meat-based options they had. So y'all, I don't know how big the store is. There's got to be at least 40 rows. Now, they do have frozen meats around the perimeter, grass-fed, high quality, frozen, But I'm like, okay, what do they got on the shelves? What do they have that I can carry out? So, shelves on each side. So let's say 40 shelves, 5 or 6 high. Definitely, these shelves probably go to 8 feet, maybe 7 feet. A bottom in one aisle, 2 feet, bottom shelf, single only shelf. They had 4 options of jerky, and one was Epic Wagyu, which is pretty good. There's very minimal sugar. It's not over seasoned. There's not a lot of trash in it. They inject a lot of extra awesome fats in there, and it's very palatable. So I grabbed 4 Wagyu sticks, and they're less than $2. So this is the other thing that people say all the time: I can't afford carnivore. Well, now we can eat carnivore exponentially cheaper than most because we're raising our own meat. So it costs us about half of what it costs everybody else. But it also takes our time, right, to do all the stuff and run it all around and do all these things and pick it up and drop it off and pick it back up and distribute it and all that stuff. But all that being said, carnivore, if you're holding to it, is incredibly inexpensive. Our grocery bill is now reduced to way less than $100 a week. If we're spending $50 a week, that's probably max the sky. And this is a family of 8. And what else is neat is we can very holistically and very relatively easily speaking, we can raise enough meat for ourselves easily for a year. And if we had to, we would butcher it ourselves. I hope that never happens. We've butchered 3 or 4 cows, and it is well worth the money to pay the professionals to do it. We use a USDA facility. Everything's vacuum sealed. It's done very well, very nice. Great people, great interaction. And once again, we can support somebody local, and it's part of our economy, part of our ecosystem, parallel community, parallel society. It's part of our community. It's great. I love paying those people money, and I would much rather let the pros do it, know how to do it, be able to do it. But if you can let the pros do it, let the pros do it. Oh, yeah, and the butter and coffee. We're getting back into bringing back the butter. So we're going to start. We used to have a A2 dairy cow. We're going to start purchasing raw milk again and either making our own butter or buying butter. But we're injecting butter back into and that'll bring our monthly costs up a little bit. But even once we add back in the raw milk and the butter, I would bet you our monthly grocery bill, excluding the meat, is going to be maybe $100, maybe $150 a month, a family of 8, right? So it's all about nutrient dense, right? And the most nutrient dense food is red meat. And this is why all of the veg and propaganda, this is why all the WEF, World Economic Forum, this is why the cow farts we're all gonna die. This is why we got to tax the oblivion out of it. Now look, you can raise livestock, but since they fart, we're gonna tax you. That's coming. It's coming. They're already doing it in the EU. And they're already doing it in Australia, and they're coming for the meat. And why is that? Because it is the solution. And look, and I'm not going to be this puritanical thing and say this is absolutely going to cure everything, and you just have to be like this meat zealot. But there are all these testimonies of Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson, Jack Spirko, Dr. Barry, his entire client base, Dr. Chafee, his entire client base. There are neurosurgeons. There are these family doctors. There are medical doctors that are smart people that completely adhere to this. Sean Baker's another doc. This Sean Baker is like almost 60 years old. This guy is dominating CrossFit. And this guy basically invented the carnivore concept. And why I really like Sean Baker is he's not like puritanical. He says, I'm not saying I'm going to eat this way forever. But here's the thing. So about 40 some days ago, I felt like I'd kind of plateaued out with my shoulder. It just started feeling not great. Didn't hurt or anything. I'm like, wow, it's starting to feel, when you've had all these different pains and impingements and nerves and scar tissue, like you kind of know, now that all that stuff's gone, when it starts to come back, you're like, oh, that's not good, So we start this carnivore thing. That immediately, what I started to feel immediately alleviated this fly. And went away. And what's incredible, now I had the bicep tendinosis and everything. That takes about a year to recover from that whole procedure, and your mechanical function of your arms not going to really, God didn't design your bicep to attach down here. He attached it to your shoulder for a reason. They did it to create space in the joint because of the encapsulation and the joint rubbing and the missing labrum and all that stuff. So it starts improving, right? And then I'm joking around with the boys or something, and Jim says he's off all medication. That's awesome. We'll get into some of y'all's testimonials on this. And I'll answer your questions once I'm done my ramble here. So now I was missing 30% of my labrum. Okay, I don't know where it's at right now. And the joints all reconfigured and the bicep, right? And I can, and I used to do 100 push-ups and 100 pull-ups every day. I still can't do a pull-up because of the bicep thing. And the whole functionality of the joint. I still cannot do a pull up. I could probably do a one-arm pull up if I tried, maybe. And I would train every day, 5 to 6 days a week. Basically, if I was able, I've trained like that, weight trained like that, since I was about 19, and I'm 47. And ever since my surgery in August, I haven't been to the gym. I haven't lifted a weight or anything. And I started doing sissy push-ups, like incline push-ups, and I could barely do like a full range of motion sissy push-up like on a dresser. So it's like, chest high. And started the carnivore, and within a week could immediately do a full ultra wide grip push up. I could do 20 of them full, all the way down, touch the nose to the floor, back straight. And amazing game changer. I don't know. I don't know. I'm documenting this. It's kind of why I wanted to create this video, to tell the story as a whole. So this way it's a resource so people can maybe share it. And I'm going to see there is talk and evidence with a meat-based diet and joint regeneration to a point, like labrum stuff, the problem with your labrum is there's no circulation. So regeneration is, but with a high fat, high meat diet that's getting you the stuff that you need for that kind of stuff. I'm curious. We're going to find out. We're going to see what's happening. But what's happening right now is my sleep. So I've suffered with insomnia since high school. I missed most of my senior year. I had mono because I didn't sleep for months. Never slept great since high school. Started meat-based. My sleep completely changed. Still wake up maybe once or twice a night, fall back right back to sleep. I snore. I do believe I have a deviated septum. I've never had a sleep study. I'm very positive that I have sleep apnea. I know I stop breathing in my sleep because it wakes me up, and I know that can kill you and all that stuff. Well, I went carnivore. I don't know if the snoring has completely stopped, but I can sleep on my back, and the like stop breathing thing. You want to see some push-ups? Well, maybe I'll get Matt to record that, and maybe we'll put it on a video or something. But it's rather miraculous when you consider what condition my shoulder was in, and two, all the stuff they did to it. The fact that I could ever I never expected to do a push-up again. And I talked to the stem cell guy, and he was like, look, what you got's what you got. So don't expect, your range of motion is what you got. And I had nothing, man. But, it's pain-free, and beggars can't be choosers, and God's in control. God's sovereign. I'm not, that's what makes even I had gotten to the position in my, and I get all these weird Pentecostal things like, no, you just got to believe, and then God's just going to heal that, right? I don't put anything, God can do whatever he wants, and God could heal me if he wanted to. There are plenty of stories in the Bible where God didn't. He left, who did he leave in Miletum sick, right? And Paul had physical infirmities, right? And he asked God to take him away, and he didn't. So for all these people that you just need more faith to be healed, keep reading your Bible. Keep reading. Read all of it. Read it from the front to all the way to the back. And you'll learn that the trying of our faith worketh patience, right? The trying of our faith worketh patience. And part of these trials, sometimes it'll be physical infirmities, and sometimes you're going to need to go through it, right? And I had come to grips with the fact that this might be the way it is, and this, for whatever reason in God's providence, he's using this to make me a better vessel, for his use. And if this is what it's got to be, I was completely, was I happy about it? I have 6 kids, and being a really big athletic guy, training, I'd always man, I can't wait till the day where I can train with the boys, and I can show them the different stuff I know, and we can kind of compete and all these different things, because it was really kind of like my thing. And then for all of that to be completely gone, and it's funny, Matt had major reconstructive surgery on his shoulder, and because of that, he really got into lifting and developing his shoulders to help support all that stuff. And so, but I'm not going to lie, I was super disappointed, and then I have little ones, and I'm like, man, what's it going to be like? I mean, y'all, it was so bad. I mean, a couple years ago, we had planned a big road trip, and the morning of the road trip, everybody was packed and ready and super pumped, and I'm like, I can't go. I was stuck in bed. I couldn't get out of bed. And I was in bed. They were gone for 2 weeks. The first week, I was stuck in bed. That's when predators ate our entire sheep flock, because I couldn't even go outside. Ate every single one of them. Lost one a day. And I was and I had many different bouts throughout those last 7 years with numbness in my fingers and all this stuff, and it was all stemming from all of this damage in the shoulder joint and the pinching of nerves and scar tissue and all the encapsulative stuff, just messing everything up for a very long period of time. And that's why all this degeneration took place in that joint. But now we're going to see how much of that we can reverse. And this is all, by the grace of God. He leads us. And, this channel isn't going to become the all carnivore channel, and this is all we're going to talk about. But it's really important if this can, so many people are so morbidly obese. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to just look at people's heads. And you can look at somebody's head, right? And They have so much hypertension in their face. They are so sick. They are so ill, right? And it's all because of their food. And processed sugar is 10 times more addictive than crack. And even people that think they're eating healthy stuff that's bran rice and this tapioca starch and all this stuff, for all intents and purposes, is still mega processed, right? And it's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. And if you can grab this meat-based concept, this is something that's very easy. It's very simple to do. It's not expensive. And one of my friends who's dealing with a lot of health challenges, and I said, we went carnivore. He's like, man, I wish we could do that. It's very expensive. It's not. It's just not. If you really commit to it and do it, you're going to eliminate all the snacks, all of it. And I promise you, and we don't ever eat out, ever. We eat out 1 to 4 times a year max, this guy, because I'm not going to throw away my money. I'm not going to light it on fire. And I certainly don't even know what quality I'm getting. So why would you overpay for something and you don't even know the quality? But you are going to eliminate all snacks. You're going to eliminate any type of sugary drink or sugary drink substitute. Now, one thing that we do use is we use the Redmond Relight. And I've contacted Redmond. We're affiliates now, so I need to remember to include all of our, because we use Redmond Real Salt in our food. We've been using Redmond Real Salt for probably 5 years now. We use a Redmond Agricultural, right, for the horses and the cows. And so now we're using Relight for our electrolytes, because if you are a carnivore, you're going to need more electrolytes because it's part of the whole water hydration process and cramping, and you need these trace minerals like magnesium, calcium, and all these things, right? And the Relight's pretty good, and it's sweetened with stevia, so it gives you a little sweet thing if that's your thing. I'm a salt guy. I was ultra addicted. I bought the healthy potato chips that were either in olive oil or avocado oil, and they were organic and all that stuff. And because I sweat so much during the day and I'm outside and I'm active, so I always crave the salt. But now I just drink the Relight, and it keeps all my electrolytes in balance, and I feel better. Sleep amazing. And you start listening to these different carnivore testimonies. Everybody says, I stopped snoring the first night. I can't necessarily say that I've stopped snoring. I can say that in 47 years, I haven't been able to sleep on my back. And in the last 40 days, I can sleep on my back and not wake up. And the funny thing about it is I have always, historically, I can always fall asleep the fastest on my back. But what happens is I immediately snore. As soon as I snore, I wake myself up. And then I roll over on my side. Well, then what happened is when this left shoulder crapped the bed and disappeared, I couldn't lay on this side. Then I was stuck laying on one side. So it really, I don't know, maybe I'll try the unflavored Relight. That sounds like a good idea. Because I really like the salt flavor thing, because that's kind of my deal, because my body's craving it. And that was even before going carnivore. And, but yeah, I can tell, I haven't really exercised. I'm doing some push-ups now. I still do my pull-up hang. I still can't do pull-ups. I'm going to take it easy. I don't want to, my wife is very scared. She thinks I'm going to hurt something or something. So I keep trying to tell her I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. Relight is Relyte. It's a Redmond product. So, and I'm going to keep y'all posted. We're going to keep documenting this. Unintended beneficial consequences of carnivore. You know what else? And this is kind of amazing. So I was telling you my analogy from the granary and how they only had out of, maybe their store is 4,000 square feet. And they had 2 square feet of a meat-based option for a grab and go. And that is, I would say that's a pretty good dichotomy of where we're at as a American culture, even a air quotes healthy American culture. Okay. Um, Unintended beneficial consequences. Our trash that we dispose of was cut into less than a fourth. And even our compost has greatly reduced, basically to eggshells. And we feed our in-house dog scraps. She's a small dog, so she gets a very little. And Rem, our livestock guardian dog, he's almost exclusively his food was always meat based before we buy higher end dog food for him. I don't know if we've cut that out or not. I'm not in charge of those chores. But our refuse, there's not all these cans and all these plastic things and all these glass bottles. So we're literally throwing out, and that's always been big for me because, like, I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be part of the problem. And I know that just like solar and wind and all this other propaganda, that recycling is a scam. Okay. And I certainly don't want to be like some hillbilly and burn it in a trash can and emit PFAS and dioxins and pollute everything. Like, unfortunately, some very stupid, very Luddite thinking people. I can't get over the fact that they'll burn all this plastic trash. I'm not saying that when you pay somebody to pick it up that they don't do it, unfortunately. But by converting to carnivore in the last 40 days, the disposable trash. Now, talk about a tree hugger's dream, right? Tree hugger's dream. Some hippie, like hemp wearing, Birkenstock, tree kissing, pot smoking, mushroom, DMT hitting hippie would be ecstatic if they could reduce their refuse disposal by 75%. Completely not hyperbolic, absolute fact. We went from like maybe 4 large trash bags a week and other farm, refuse stuff to less than one a week. Absolute fact. You can just, it's observable. Like, and, and I'm a dork and I contemplate and think about all these things and I'm like, this is incredible. I'm like, that is a positive unintended consequences. And now I don't have to be like, oh man, we're just generating all this trash and then we throw it in the magic can. Reduced by 3/4 by 75%. One habit change. Nutrient dense, highly nutritious food. Nutritious. I just said nutritionist. Nutritious food. Everyone that's participating is reaping the benefits. We've watched the kids' palates change, what their likes and dislikes are. And look, we still eat fruit and different things, not in high quantities. I still have 400 fruit trees. I'm still going to eat fruit, right? I'm just not going to. My wife's in here harass me, giving me eyeballs. She's probably been watching the stream, y'all. She's telling me to wrap it up, and I'm only 58 minutes in. So look, y'all, here's what I want to do. We're using Restream. It's working better. I want to share a video as we close out. This is exciting. And I've never done this with Restream, so I'm going to try this. Okay, let's go to here. Let's go to share, and I'm going to put the headphones on just to make sure y'all can hear. This is exciting stuff that I want to share with y'all. Okay, and this is the kind of hard-hitting, exciting news that we share here on the Texas Boys. If this is a value for value proposition, so if you appreciate the kind of content that we bring to you, if you consider this carnivore thing, it could radically change your health. And dude, all you got to do is try it. And if it works, you do it. And if it doesn't work, you stop doing it. That's what's amazing. It's so weird how people are. when it comes to diets. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. It's gonna blah blah blah. Well, you won't even try it. Like, yeah, it's just kind of funny. I'm just gonna eat all the foods that God has created, and they make it all like cyber pharisaical. They turn it into like this philosophical, theological construct when, well, what about all the chemtrails and what about all the manipulation and what about the depleted mineral soils and all these different things? Like, you can say this platitudinous, cyber pharisaical, like hierarchical, which is really a backhanded whatever. I love cyber Pharisees. They are my absolute favorites. I love dialoguing with them because they're just an incredible group of people that if they could live in reality, their theological pharisaicalism, the world would be a much better place. Unfortunately, they can't. So let's see if this works, y'all. I'm gonna play this.
All right,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is chicken, technically, but not as we know it. You're looking at food that actually came from cells from a chicken rather than the chicken itself.
Yummy, mate.
Now the US has given 2 firms the green light or permission to start producing lab-grown chicken products. They're called Upside Foods and Good Meat. Their cells are grown with the help of nutrients like amino acids in massive bioreactors. As you can see, it kind of looks like a brewery. And
it's like a
Upside Foods chicken is already on one restaurant menu in San Francisco. Uma Valetti is the CEO. He joins us live now. Uma, thank you so much for being with us. So from how I understand it, this is derived from live animal stem cells that then multiplied and eventually become muscle, fat, and connective tissue. Just explain to our audience the sort of process by which this kind of chicken is produced.
Zane, thanks for having me. Delighted to be here. So
Delighted.
Upside Foods is cultivating chicken directly from live chicken cells. And when I say live chicken cells, we take like a drop of cells from either a chicken or an egg, and we provide them with rich nutrients in a clean, controlled environment like the one I'm sitting in. And after 2 to 3 weeks, the cells do what they naturally do when they get good nutrients. They grow. And after 2 to 3 weeks, we harvest it. There is no slaughter in the process, and we make products we love. That could be a chicken breast, a chicken fillet, or a sausage, or simply Southern fried chicken.
It's interesting because I'm wondering who is the target audience. So obviously no animals are slaughtered in the
Target.
process, which is
No pun intended.
good news. But if you're targeting
Who are you
obviously
targeting?
people who are vegetarian or vegan or people who don't want animals to be slaughtered, then there are products like Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, for example, that use plant-based protein. This is not that. So who is your target audience?
I mean, right front and center, we're looking at people who love eating meat. And as
yummy.
humans, over thousands of years, we've evolved with the love for meat always at the center of plate. And that's the group that we are targeting. Anyone who loves to eat meat from real animals and animal cells and want to maintain the traditions and cultures in any dish they cook, in any cultures that they come from. Because meat is such a universal, desirable food for us.
Really?
What we're trying to walk away from is the downsides of how we bring meat of that scale to the table. And this is the opening bell in declaring that, yes, we can bring the meat we love from real animal cells by growing it directly from the cells versus trying to grow an entire animal, slaughtering it, and then dealing with all the downsides in the intense animal production.
Yeah, all the downsides. Isn't that great? See, this is kind of awesome news. I just wanted to brighten your day. Did you see that stainless steel plant? This goes right into the plant-based foods. So this is one of those plants that they're referring to when they make the pea protein in the biodigesters. This is going to come from a bioreactor. Don't worry, it's safe and effective, FDA approved, USDA stamped, grade A chicken soup. They just take a couple chicken cells and they feed them very nutritious. They feed them very nutritious. And don't worry, y'all, very bright people from India with accents, like people with British and Australian accents interview these people, which obviously makes them sound more intelligent. and then some great PhD from India. He's really excited to make the fake chicken patty for you, and it could be like chicken fried steak. So we are going to, I'm going to commission Matt to make the plant-based T-shirt where you got the factory with the polluting smog coming out. I want to see the outside of the fake chicken factory, right? All the clean, sanitary, stainless steel on the inside. I want to see the outside that's belching CO2 and consuming massive quantities of electricity. We need to take away all the downsides of the chicken process. And look, I am not a big ag chicken. We are in big ag Chickenville where we are, and they have these mega chicken houses, 3 stories, and they stack these poor white leghorns half dead on these trucks in cages and feathers flying, and they stink and they reek and they're panting and they look like they're half dead. Yeah, I am definitely not a CAFO chicken guy, right? We believe in organic, holistic, regenerative ways to raise our livestock and give them a healthy life so that they produce healthy food, right? But this notion that we can build this gigantic chemical plant with biodigesters. Oh, it looks just like a brewery. It looks like they make Bud Light by day and they make fake chicken by night. And it's sanitary, right? And it has no environmental footprint whatsoever. The biodigesters run on Skittles and unicorn farts and positive vibes. And there's 0 carbon emission. Yeah, it's void of logic, void of ration, void of reason, completely void of reality, anti, postmodern, post-truth, post-reality nonsense. And that was just a gigantic commercial, propaganda commercial, like super WEF, you'll own nothing and be happy, and you won't even be able to grow and eat your own chicken, right? We're going to grow you a better chicken. It's going to be, and what's there? They always have some kind of cheesy, like, better food. It's just like better living, BASF, right? Better living through science. We need better chemicals to make life better. We just need more Teflon. So, with that, I bid you all, thank you so much, everybody, for participating in the live stream. I apologize if I didn't get to your comments or questions. Keep giving us your testimonials, your carnivore, or any kind of health testimonial, what you're doing, what's working for you. Leave comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Definitely check out TheTexasBoys.com if you're local and you're looking for beef or pork. Make your reservations now. Slaughter in August, USDA facility pickup in early September. And check out our teas, check out Coffee's teas, and definitely get yourself some honey money, non-vaccinated honey. We love y'all. Have a super awesome day like my buddy Chris over at the Financial Survivor. Check out the link below. If you're looking for hard assets like gold and silver, give Stacey a call. She's got some great deals. The spread has shrunk on silver, so you might want to take advantage of that opportunity. It is starting to go north again, so check that out, and we'll see y'all in the next video.